Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your daily source for Black news, views, and opinions. Today is Monday, June 13th, and I'm Mimi Brown.
I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo, and on today's report, a bipartisan deal on gun control, from red flag laws to the so-called boyfriend loophole. We'll tell you what the deal addresses and why it's being called a step in the right direction. Meanwhile, talks for gun reform legislation. It intensified over the weekend as tens of thousands around the nation rallied against gun violence. Then the FBI says that white supremacists are building communities, riling up thousands of young men on social media platforms, and we have that story.
Plus, Beyonce makes a major change to her social media presence. We'll tell you what the fans think is happening next. And Tiger Woods moves into billionaire status. We have all that and so much more. This is our voice and our truth. So let's get it.
Senate negotiators have reached a bipartisan deal on gun control in response to the recent mass shootings. Although there is more work to do, senators have released a framework, and that proposal includes funding to help states implement and pass red flag laws, billions more for mental health and school safety, and expanded background checks for gun purchases under the age of 21. Now, in addition, it addresses the so-called boyfriend loophole, which means convicted domestic abusers who do not live with a former partner would be barred from buying firearms. And it would also be a crime for a person to legally purchase a gun for someone who would not legally qualify for it on their own. Now, it leaves out the assault weapons ban and raising the age limit to purchase a semi-automatic weapon. President Biden responding to the news, calling the proposal a positive first step and thanking the bipartisan group of senators who helped to make it happen. He added, quote, "Obviously, it does not do everything that I think is needed, but it reflects the important steps in the right direction, and it would be the most significant gun safety legislation to pass Congress in decades." You know what? I will give credit where credit is due. When you think of any movement, they all had to take baby steps. Nothing happened overnight. And so the fact that 20 senators were able to come together, they were able to iron out this plan yesterday, because it's still a plan. It's not a bill. They still have to legislatively work out the language, and then it has to be voted upon. So right now it's just a framework of how the senators can come together. I think Joe Manchin was included in that. Lindsey Graham was included in that. So right now where we are, I will say the only thing I think that would be a non-negotiable, but I understand that kind of you got to take what you can get. It's raising that age limit from 18 to 21, because what we saw in Buffalo and what we saw in Uvalde, they were both, the gunmen were both 18 years old. And so I think that powerful of a weapon that's used for military style combat should not be in the hands of an 18-year-old.
Absolutely. I think we've all agreed across the board that an 18-year-old having an AR-15, what is the need for that? There is simply, I can't name one reason why you would actually need an AR-15 unless you were in combat.
Yes.
But also I want to address one other thing that you talked about, the boyfriend loophole. And so Amy Klobuchar, she kind of simplified it a little bit. She pretty much said the boyfriend loophole means that if you commit a serious crime of domestic abuse against your wife, you cannot get a gun. But if you do it against your girlfriend, you can. And so when you have loopholes, what do people do? Attack them. Yeah. It's like volleyball. I always use volleyball where you have to find an empty spot and then you attack that one space. I look at it like that. And so when you give people an inch, they're going to take a mile. And so what's I'm nervous about here is that we give people like a little loophole. It's like, oh, I can do it against here. Then you still end up getting a gun, and then mass shootings never end.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I wish even at the age of 21 that they didn't have access to an AR-15, because you're not at war. Why would you need one in your home, in your presence at all? Yeah. If we finally get to the point where we're maybe move to the point where they're going to start voting, right? We figure all Democrats will probably be on board. Maybe 10 Republicans. In a perfect world, I feel like all the Republicans should get in a little group chat and say, let's all agree with this. This is for our country. It's such a bad look. No, it's not going to happen. But you hopefully to have those 10 that's going to sacrifice their so-called political career to do the right thing. So the fact that we're close to getting to that point means we are making progress.
Yeah, and I think part of them, they're still trying to make the NRA happy, because a lot of them are taking money from the NRA. And so part of this, what you're seeing is something that they believe the NRA could still go for. But the NRA released a statement, and they are saying what they're still not happy. Let's start there. But they're saying provide more resources to secure our schools, fix our severely broken mental health system, and support our law enforcement. That was their reaction to the framework.
That's not bad. That's actually more than what I would expect for the NRA to say. So I'm shocked that they agree that we have some steps that need to be taken in the right direction. But I think what you're also saying that's true is that trying to keep the NRA happy and trying to keep the Republicans happy, the Democrats happy, the American people happy, really there's never going to be a time where everybody is all on one page. Going back to your first statement, we have to take the baby steps and get some framework in place so that we can stop getting these guns in the hands of 18-year-olds.
Absolutely. But and two, what I took from the NRA statement is that they're saying provide more resources to secure our schools. So basically they're saying put more armed officers at school.
Yeah,
they still want more guns. They're not happy.
They want to keep
yes.
Absolutely.
That's
so,
what, you know.
Going back. As Congress works on a new gun law, the American people are letting them know that they want action, and they want action now. Tens of thousands of people around the nation rallied against gun violence. Hundreds gathered near the Capitol Saturday, condemning the continued gun violence plaguing this nation.
I speak as a mayor, a mom, and I speak for millions of Americans and America's mayors who are demanding that Congress do its job. And its job is to protect us, to protect our children from gun violence.
Many of the demonstrators say they will take their anger over gun violence to the polls in November. And we've who we're going to vote for, and the primaries, and of course when it's time to vote for president, and Biden's going to have to make some serious things happen when it comes time for him to be reelected. But I saw a story that was posted online about children having bulletproof blankets in their classrooms, and that is where we're getting to. We talk a lot about gun violence here. People are speaking out and being more radical. The hashtag gun control now was all over Twitter over the weekend as these rallies were taking place. And so I love that people are speaking out. This is a topic that we're not too vocal about, I don't feel like. Especially the black community. We're not like, we need gun control. We need gun control now. The American people are usually passionate about this after something happens. So now people are just being more loud and proud about speaking up about gun control and bulletproof blankets for children and bulletproof backpacks. Like, where are we getting to in the country right now?
You know, Demi, to your point about the black community not being as vocal as we could be, yes, we could be, but we're also, you know, trying to get voting rights, and we're trying not to get shot by police every day. And so sometimes we have to pick and choose. And while we shouldn't have to pick and choose, you know, if we have this gun reform affects everybody, not just us, you know, and so sometimes I think it's easier for us to piggyback, like, okay, yes, we need that, because we're always in the forefront fighting just for our lives, just to be able to not be shot by police. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So just adding that on to our already long list of things that we need to do, it just already feels daunting. But I want to say the March for Our Lives rally, it started in 2018 after the Parkland shooting. And each year it grows bigger, and it's almost like a club that no one wants to be admitted to. No one wants, you know, that type of membership. But each year we see it getting bigger and bigger and bigger because we continue to have the mass shootings.
I agree. And when you look at that, what happened this past weekend with the march, you see black, white, Latinos, Asians. This is not just about one race. This is about our country as a whole. So I love seeing that, which reminds me of Black Lives Matter movement. We saw the same thing in that movement. Hopefully this can have the same impact moving forward, but we definitely have to do something different. And I applaud them for being out there with just utilizing their voice and sharing their stories with everyone.
Yeah, and Yolanda King, Dr. King's granddaughter, she made a very impassioned speech about, you know, making this time different. And I really hope that this time is different. I remember saying that when George Floyd happened, hoping that time would be different. But every day we do stories about black men and women being killed by police. So.
And the problem, too, that we have in America is that we are very topical and we do something for the moment, in the moment, versus carrying it all the way through to the end, seeing it all the way through to the very end until it gets taken care of. So like you said, hopefully it's different, but we kind of, you know, Romeo, like we focus on something for a month or so, a few months,
and then
exactly.
Yeah. All right, so more than 9 million Americans may qualify for current federal student loan forgiveness. The Student Borrower Protection Center's new report found millions of public service workers may be eligible for debt cancellations. The group says back in 2007, a loan forgiveness program was created for employees of nonprofit and government agencies. People who made payments over a 10-year period would have their loan forgiven, but the number of people applying for forgiveness has been low because many people don't know about the program.
All right, well, to find out if you qualify for that student aid program, go to studentaid.backslash/PSFL for more information. And also, a group of white supremacists are being arraigned today after being arrested near a gay pride event in Ohio. Police say the men were packed in a U-Haul truck with riot gear, including smoke grenades, masks, and shields. They were stopped after a tip from a witness who said they saw the men piling into the back of that U-Haul truck, and they became concerned. Now, they are being charged with conspiracy to riot and are believed to be affiliated with the white national group Patriot Front. Police say they came to Ohio from 11 states.
The FBI says white supremacists are riling up thousands of young men on social media. They're reportedly building communities on social media platforms like Instagram, Telegram, as well as TikTok. This year has been dubbed White Boy Summer. Now, a few weeks ago, the Department of Homeland Security officials put out a bulletin warning of increased action by white supremacists. They say the sites may spark lone wolf attacks by young, disillusioned white males. Federal officials say they are working with state and local agencies to raise awareness about the social media sites.
New York judge says State Attorney General Letitia James' lawsuit against the National Rifle Association can move forward. A Manhattan Supreme Court judge is dismissing the NRA claims that the lawsuit is nothing more than a political vendetta. The ruling comes weeks after the Buffalo and Uvalde mass shootings. James filed a lawsuit against the gun group, accusing top executives of financial improprieties. The lawsuit is also looking to dissolve the organization.
An Arkansas attorney is suing the Arkansas State Police after he was hit by a beanbag during the George Floyd protests in 2020. Now, Don Cook is suing the state police, accusing them and other troopers of violating his constitutional rights. Cook was hit in the face with a beanbag after police ordered crowds to disperse. Now, Cook, who is white, suffered serious injuries to the face, jaw, and teeth. The beanbag had to be removed during emergency surgery. Now, the lawsuit says the use of the beanbag was unnecessary since Cook was already walking away when he was hit. Now, critics question the use of beanbags and other lethal use of force during protests around the country. The city of Spokane, they just paid a woman $210,000 after she was hit in the throat by officers back in 2020 at a BLM protest.
Police in Florida say a seventh member of a Haitian delegation to the Special Olympics is missing. The 25-year-old man was reported missing on a Sunday morning. Now, he was scheduled to fly back to Haiti Sunday morning. Osceola County deputies, they say they don't believe foul play is involved in this or the other people who have been disappeared. They say the missing turned in their hotel room keys, but the rooms still had clothes and other personal items in the rooms. Special Olympics game officials say 5 of the adults missing since last Monday are not Special Olympic athletes. However, one is an adult with intellectual disabilities. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Osceola County Sheriff's Office.
Local district attorney races, which are usually quiet affairs, are getting lots of attention this primary season. The attention is coming in monetary form, with super PACs donating millions to candidates that are running against reform-minded Democrats. A political action committee linked to liberal billionaire philanthropist George Soros just dropped $300,000 into Maine's DA race. Soros and others are trying to defeat DA candidates who want to change policies that harm poor Black and Latinos who have been arrested. They also poured money in the recall campaign against San Francisco's progressive DA Chessie Boudin, who lost last week.
And a Chicago cop who was caught on video violently restraining a Black woman who was just walking her dog last August is quitting. Bruce Diker resigned from the force before the department could discipline him. In the now viral video, Brown can be heard screaming for help as he struggles with the officer who was grabbing and shoving her. The woman's attorney says the altercation began after Diker asked Brown to leave the park because it was closed. But Brown claims there were other people there walking their dogs in the park, but she was the only one who was asked to leave. She believes she was racially profiled. Now, the officer has a total of 24 misconduct allegations filed against him in his 23 years as a Chicago police officer.
Community activists in Tempe, Arizona are demanding changes after police watched as a black man went off the side of a bridge and drowned as officers watched by. Activists want the Tempe police budget cut and funds to be reallocated to mental health services, water rescue training for officers, and other programs to help the homeless. Police body camera footage shows 34-year-old Sean Bickings talking to cops shortly after climbing over the bridge railing and entering in the reservoir. Now, one of the cops tell him that he would not come to rescue him if he went into the water. The currents became very strong for Bickens to handle, and he ended up drowning. The officers in the case have been placed on non-disciplinary paid administrative leave.
New Jersey salon worker is suing her old boss for racial discrimination. Amira Smith says she was fired in June 2020 for complaining about racial discrimination and being paid less than her white co-workers at a European wax center. Smith says within 2 weeks of being hired, her hours were cut from 37 to 18 hours a week. She also says the white woman hired at the same time was making more than her. She is seeking $250,000 in damages.
Ohio's Supreme Court says a judge can't add a few years to a man's sentence just because he called the trial judge nasty names. Back in 2019, Manchin Bryant was found guilty of aggravated assault, robbery, and kidnapping. Judge Eugene Lucci sentenced him to 22 years in prison. The defendant was upset. He began yelling obscenities at the judge, who then added 6 years to Bryant's sentence because of his outbursts. Now, Bryant, he filed an appeal, and by a decision of 4-3, the justices said the defendant's conduct could not be used to add time to his sentence.
Dallas police are investigating the death of a black transgender woman who died in police custody in May. La Damon Yon Dwayne Hall died in a hospital May 26. Now, this all started when police were called to deal with a disturbance at a business. They say Hall was under the influence of a substance and could not talk to them. Cops say Hall suddenly collapsed on the ground and began to disrobe. Body camera footage reportedly shows the cops struggling with Hall. First responders placed a spit hood on her as she was loaded into an ambulance. Officers outside appeared to laugh and joke about this situation. Hall continues to scream inside of the ambulance as paramedics and officers tried to calm her down. One officer asked her to calm down before she suddenly falls silent. At one point, the officer says, "Sir, can you talk to me?" addressing her as a man. Seeing that she is unresponsive, they removed the spit hood. She later died in the emergency room, but her death, however, was not reported until 13 days later. The Dallas Police Department met with her family to review the body camera footage. An autopsy has been conducted, but results are still pending. There is so much to unpack with this awful story. First, I want to start off by saying trans lives do not matter in America, and black trans lives just awfully have been treated so terribly and just in general. But as of late, we've just seen so many awful ways that trans lives have been treated. Trans women in America just get no respect at all. 13 days in order to report this to the family it makes me so upset on the inside, honestly. And addressing her, I don't care if a person decides to wake up one day and they want to be whatever they want to be. If I say that I want to be addressed as a man or as a woman, that is what you need to address me as. And so calling her a man is disrespectful, laughing at her, and she's having a severe medical emergency. There was a severe medical emergency going on. And for police officers to not know how to handle this, that is the problem. We're going to continue to see this. There's not going to be any resolve if there's a person having a medical emergency and a police officer does not know what to do. So instead, you just kill them because you don't know how to handle a situation like this. And we're losing black trans lives left and right because it just really makes me upset. This is just a topic that's just really near and dear to my heart. It's just really upsetting.